Hi everyone, welcome back again. We're having some interesting fun here. We're gonna get interested in some water, some different types of water washes that we can do, mixing our colors. Essentially, as watercolor artists, we have a real incredible privilege in that we can mix colors like in an incredible fashion that other mediums really can't, replicate the same way that we can with watercolor. So I always feel like I always try to share with everybody that try to mix your colors and add lots of variety to your colors. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to, every once in a while, I think we all need, and I still do this myself, we all need to sometimes, I believe, does this make sense? Step back and practice some of the fundamentals once in a while. Does that make sense? Because if we just keep like going on the same course that we are normally, month after month, year after year with our painting, and we're not like sort of backtracking a little bit and then doing some fundamentals and things like that, then we're just going to kind of get stuck into a rut of doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results we want. So with this type of idea that I'm going to share, I want to see if this makes sense to you, that if you every once in a while just do some swatches and mix some colors around and see if you can come up with some interesting combinations and things that you like, whatever your favorite colors are. Sometimes you're really going to love, like, some people love like greens, some people love blues. Those are the two most popular colors that people enjoy most out of all colors as far as popularity goes. Blue is the most popular color by far with all people around the world. And then green as well. Green is a very popular color, so blues and greens are always great. Ocean, sky, water. In any case, let's do some swatches here, and let's not feel like they're going to be boring. Let's see if we can just kind of have fun with it and mix some colors. Because normally, if we're working in a painting, and do you find this true? When you're in the middle of a painting, most times you're really not in the mood for kind of experimenting too much, because with watercolors we're trying to move quickly and work neatly, efficiently. We're not, something can go wrong pretty quickly with watercolors. So watercolors not really a medium where we kind of hang, just like kind of nonchalantly put the paint on and do things and try things out. Maybe like with oil painting, you can scrape some oil paint off the canvas if you don't like a color. But on watercolors, that's not really how we work so much. I'm sure you agree with that. So here goes. Let's do some swatches, and we'll. This one's going to be based on like watercolors of maybe like the ocean, a river, maybe some sky, like a rainy sky or something like that. Let's get into the colors of things in the washes that we can use and the mixtures we can use. All right, I hope this is going to come out clearly. I'll section off my swatches with some tape, which is always good, masking tape or artist tape. And the reason I like to do this is when you section off with masking tape, then later on when you peel the tape off, you have each of the swatches isolated nicely so that you have a nice white border around each swatch. And then you can kind of see it, each swatch as it is on its own. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Let's do this here. One. I'm going to make 3 rows. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not trying to be, too precise here. I'm just trying to get like 3 rows and then maybe two swatches. So 6 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Or we could even do 9. Let's do 9. Okay, we'll put our palette back down here. And I'll just tape my palette down so it doesn't move around. And I'm just going to use some fresh, clean water, a nice round brush, Kolinsky Sable round brush, watercolor brush. And let's have some fun here. Let's pretend we have a nice stormy, rainy clouds. I'm going to wet the paper first with some clear water. And I wet the paper first, maybe the top 2/3 of the paper. Now I'm going to mix up some interesting color here. Some Cerulean Blue, French Ultramarine Blue, Payne's Gray, Cobalt Blue, and more Payne's Gray. A little bit of yellow ochre. To give a variety, so adds a whole nother feel if you can add a little yellow ochre to that. Cerulean Blue. Now we have a nice interesting mixture of color. And that has that rainy, cloudy sky feel. So that's our first swatch. And we mixed up a little bit of interesting colors. Payne's Gray, French Ultramarine Blue, Cobalt Blue, Cerulean Blue, a little bit of yellow ochre. And we got a real nice feel of a cloudy, rainy, one of those rain clouds. Plenty of water on there. We wet the paper first. Okay, now let's maybe let's do maybe some tropical water. French Ultramarine Blue, Cerulean Blue, yellow ochre, Viridian Green, maybe a little bit of sap green, mixed with French ultramarine blue to make a really dark green, bluish green. Then we'll start going into the lighter blue, cobalt blue, with some Viridian. And some yellow ochre for maybe some beach sand here. And maybe a little light cobalt blue for the sky. All right, that's fun. That's really exciting. Some rain clouds, that rainy sky, some ocean water, a tropical. This might be like more of a, this could be really anywhere for an ocean type of feel. Tropical, I think, is maybe more lighter. Let's try that. So this could be an ocean, some ocean water here. Let's do some tropical. If we're going to do that, let's do more of the greens. Viridian Green. This is Peacock Blue. We'll try a little bit of that. Before I do that, let me just tidy up this swatch here on this side. Okay. That's Peacock Blue and Viridian Green. I'm going to do some more of that French ultramarine blue up here for the horizon. Something to note here that is definitely important is a good brush and a nice point. So you can see I'm getting some. You can see the point of my brush here. It's pretty pointy. And sometimes you can roll it. Okay, I like this right now, but I'm not getting enough variation, I don't think. So let's add something in here. Maybe some olive green. That looks pretty good. And more Viridian Green. Then I just wet my brush and use mostly just water here, and I work this down. And then maybe some of that yellow ochre. And then maybe some yellow ochre for that sky. Just a little bit of yellow ochre on the sky there. Okay, so we're working with small swatches here, but we can definitely, you know, get the idea of the color mixing and practicing the color mixing, as well as some of the design of getting those nice parallel lines with the brush for the waves and the flow of the water, as well as doing our blotting and flooding the paper with lots of water for this rain cloudy sky here. Alright, let's have some more enjoyable practice. I'm going to add a little bit of orange here and cobalt blue. For my horizon, the sky. Okay, let's practice maybe some waves. French ultramarine blue, Viridian green, Viridian green, French ultramarine blue, peacock blue a little bit. Let's add a little bit of yellow ochre in that. A little bit of splashing to have that feeling of splashing of the waves. And if something doesn't come out perfect, it's no big deal. You can work things. If a wave doesn't look correct or something like that, you just go over it. French ultramarine blue, burnt umber. We're going to make a darker blue. Viridian green. Sometimes the tissue you can blot up a little bit to make a little interesting marks on the waves. Practice splashing. Yellow ochre. Again, I'm mixing my colors here. And then some sky colors. I use some cobalt blue. Again, here we're practicing our colors, mixing colors to get those feel of the ocean, the water. Let's see, we could do more sky if we want. Some of these colors, I'm using paper that is a decent paper, watercolor paper. The better color or the better watercolor paper you use, always remember you'll always get better results. It's just, that's the rock bottom truth about watercolor papers. You hear a lot of people do all kinds of critiques of watercolor papers, and that's great, and I've done some myself even on my channel here. But always remember, you know, if you can buy an expensive watercolor paper and work with that a little bit, you'll see a big difference compared to maybe like a less expensive paper. And I buy a lot of less expensive paper myself to practice on when I'm doing swatches like this and things. But when I'm doing my finished paintings, I'll use better paper. So just a thing to keep in mind. Always remember to try both. Always work with both good paper and your practice paper, maybe, or some of the paper that you use just for fun stuff once in a while. But that's just really a good thing, because sometimes if you're using inexpensive paper, you really can't do overwashes and keep adding paint and water to your swatches, and that's what's happening here. I can see that my results are not doing too well because I'm using an average paper, not a great paper. And then when I'm trying to do my overwashes and keep blending more paint on these swatches, they're getting, as they're drying, I can see that they're not looking as good as they could if it was better paper. Just a note to self. And let's keep moving on here. Let's try some just real super light Viridian. And some Cerulean Blue. And this will be more ocean water. Just a light wash like that. Sometimes you can dry off the brush a little bit and get some variation. And I put that little bit of yellow ochre in the bottom here just for that feeling of sand along the shoreline here. So we're thinking this is the beach here, and then the water goes out. And it's a very tropical scene. So the water is very light, and that usually indicates that it's shallow. So the sand is reflecting up the light from underneath the water, making the water look very light all the way out. In a sense, it would be like a large sandbar going all the way out for maybe a mile or a half a mile out, and it would be all light color because that light is reflecting off the white sand up through the water, and it's shallow water, maybe a foot or two or so. That gives you that really light feeling. Okay, and let's... And I'm putting some sky color up here, just to make the swatch look realistic a little bit. And let's see, we could do kind of a muddy looking. Let's do a muddy looking. Have fun here. Let's mix up some sap green, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue. Let's see if we can get like a kind of a, maybe like along a bay where the water's kind of dark. That looks good. Maybe a little more blue in there. Let's do some cobalt. Adding in a little bit of color, some blue and some sap green. Then we'll go in and we'll do our sky with more cobalt blue. I also added in some yellow ochre here too. Okay, and then let's do some more, let's see, I'm going to try some sap green, olive green, yellow ochre, French ultramarine blue. And then here I'm just practicing my brushwork, trying to get that feeling of the choppy water. Now here we can blot up if we want with some tissue. And then once this dries, we can go over with a darker color and then do this same idea of doing these. It's a matter of just taking the brush, making sure you have your nice point on there. Roll your brush around, get that point, and then just swing it back and forth. And you can get that nice choppy water feel. So this works really good if you use, like, let's say a lighter wash like this first, and then you can go over with a darker tonal value like this in a darker color. And you do these here and there. And then as you would go off in the distance, you would see less details and less of that choppiness. Okay, so that's some more kind of, now we're using more brush work. Here we're doing more, changing around our colors, mixing different colors, getting different feels. And now we're doing some brush work. We're practicing again using our swatches, taking a step back, taking a break from painting maybe, and then just doing some swatches. And we practice some different ideas with the color here. Might be a little bit dark. I could use more blue in this. But the brushwork's the most important thing on this swatch, is just getting that. And then of course a little bit of splashing always makes it look good. And you could always do another, we'll maybe wet the paper. Alright, we had a little quick break, and while I took a break here, I took the tape off of our swatches. So now we just have the real essence of what we did. While I had that break, I just went in and I had an idea. I've done this many times over the years, where I might label each of the swatches something like this one's, rainstorm, stormy sky, or rainstorm sky. Here, tropical water, ocean. And I also used initials for my paint colors. So when I use my paint colors, I remember back and I said, all right, I used Viridian, Cerulean Blue, Yellow Ochre. So I would keep doing that and go through each one and do what colors I used, and maybe just put down the initials of the colors, and then maybe just kind of label the swatch what I was thinking when I was doing it, like like a stormy ocean. This might be a dark, ocean churning with dark colors in there. Here we did brush strokes, so I might like put down, choppy waves with brush strokes, and maybe name this one the same with like, maybe, lighter colors. This one here is a dark ocean graded wash, which is, I just wet the paper first here, and then took darker washes up here with a brush stroke this way. Then I went with a little bit of a lighter color here, mixture, and then here I ended up with more of like a greenish color. So that was a graded wash, so I would put, graded wash. Ocean. So all these are fun things to do when we take a break sometimes. Does that make sense? We'll take a break from our painting once in a while, and then we'll just get into doing swatches for maybe a couple weeks or a month, and just get into it, practice different colors. I always mention this because I think does this make sense? When we're painting a watercolor, usually we don't take a lot of risks. It seems like watercolor is a lot of times we're not taking risks when we're painting watercolors. We're just using what we know and going in there and doing it. So if you practice a lot of these techniques before you go in to do your painting, they're going to be like second nature, and then you can go in and just do the practice. The things that you practice, you'll use that when you're in your painting. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't take much risks myself when I'm doing watercolor paintings. I will mix some colors and get a little bit more experimental with maybe some colors in a watercolor, maybe in a painting, if I'm painting like a finished painting. But I don't really, when it comes to technique things, I really don't try to do any experimenting that much really when I'm painting, because I'm trying to keep focused on everything looking good and things going smoothly, and kind of keeping things going at a good pace. But everyone's techniques are a little different, so your techniques, I'm not sure if they're going to, if they always will align with what I do. But in any case, I'm just really showing you how I do things. This is how I kind of work with my, watercolor practicing, and then I bring this type of thing into my watercolors. Once I have done this a lot, then I can kind of use each one of these, let's say, in a painting, and I kind of know how it's going to look when I go in and do it. So just an idea. Hope you try it out. I guarantee if you practice these swatches right here and these style techniques on your practice time, I guarantee that when you go in to do any painting with any kind of water, you'll be able to have a lot of fun when you're doing your painting, versus kind of struggling if you do struggle when you do some painting with water and ocean scenes and things like that, because you'll have already practiced it, and it's sort of locked in your mind that you did these. And even better if you can take this sheet out, these swatches out, before you do a painting, and just look at them and kind of think about them for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then when you go in to do your painting, you'll sort of have an idea already of what you need, what you're going to do when you're starting to paint. So I hope this helps. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.